Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Welcome to another episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. And today we have a guest whose journeys embodies the true spirit of financial freedom and empowerment. Our guest has achieved remarkable success by redefining what it means to be financially savvy and living authentically. As a full-time RVer, meaning if she doesn't like her neighbor, they get to just pack up and move. Like, how great is that? They are traveling across the US with her husband, and they have embraced a life of adventure and financial independence. Her impressive track record includes becoming debt-free not only once, but twice, and now standing proudly in the top 25% of Americans for net worth. This is a testament to her strategic financial decision and unwavering commitment to a life well lived. Her expertise extends beyond her personal achievements. They have dedicated her time to helping others navigate their financial journeys with confidence and clarity. Her approach is refreshing. She empowers individuals to make informed money decisions without the burdens of shame, guilt, or restrictions, because we all know we need that coffee every once in a while. Whether it's personal finance or business strategies, our guest guidance is rooted in compassion and predictability. A word that means, simple to follow. Today, our guest will share her invaluable insights to achieving financial freedom, the benefits of a nomadic lifestyle, and how to build a secure financial future, which we all want in these changing times. Her story is not only about inspiring, but packed with actionable advice for anyone looking to take control of their finances and live a life on their own terms. So please get ready to be inspired and welcome our amazing guest, Sarah Jones. Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you so much, Phil. I'm excited to be here with you and the audience today.
I just want to start off, like, the fact that you're an RVer is awesome, because that's something I've always looked into, like, van life, a smaller version of RVing, because I don't have a family to travel around or a partner. It's just me, so a van is perfect. But, like, I want to know what really got you into the world of entrepreneurship. What made that spark happen?
It's so interesting. Ultimately, I say I'm a terrible employee. And so I didn't have another option. If I want to make money and I'm a terrible employee, then I need to have my own business, right? The long story is my dad, I grew up around it. My dad always owned several businesses. He worked for somebody else, but always was starting new businesses. And it's just the life that I thought was that everybody had, right? Like, I didn't know any different. And there's a lot of story that goes along with that, and how owning multiple businesses, how I learned from him and how I started out in my journey, how it was actually a detriment to our finances. But what I've learned has actually sparked now this multi-creative, business model that we have, where now my husband and I have multiple businesses again, but it's in really of benefit to our finances. So ultimately, I just say I'm a terrible employee. I've always cared about other people's businesses more than they cared about them. And I thought, I need to be my own business owner. Makes life maybe a little bit simpler for me.
I like that, and plus you're not bumping heads saying we need to do this, and they're like, no, and you're like, but it will save the business.
That's exactly my husband, said. He said, Sarah, he goes, you always ride these sinking ships to the bottom of the sea. It's time to jump off and, kind of build your own. And so I just have this heart for business owners. And I think that's why I care so much about, when I worked for small businesses, I care about making their businesses profitable, and I care about them as humans. Like, owning your own business is not for the faint of heart, right? It's a beautiful thing, but it's not for the faint of heart. And there's so much about owning a business that we're just simply not taught. And I just have a heart for small business owners.
Hey, I love that. That's why you're here. Small business owners are the backbone of the universe. You know, without them, most of the economies wouldn't be moving forward, and it's really a reinvestment into the community, rebuilding those community connections. Um, I want to know what was your first start in entrepreneur? You said your parents had multiple businesses. Even though they were working, sometimes working 9 to 5s, they had those multiple businesses, which you realized not the best thing to have. But what was like your first venture into this world of entrepreneurship?
Hmm. I would say my first official one was with an MLM company. And I'm not knocking them. I think that, some parts of it can be really good because it sparked this idea of I can do this, right? And I didn't have to create something on my own. It was already created. So my first official start being an entrepreneur was in the MLM space. And from there, it really kind of blossomed. I didn't hang around that space for very long. But I do want to mention, Phil, that part of the reason in starting with that MLM company and then ultimately going along and creating multiple other businesses was it really came from a place of scarcity mindset with money. That even though I was working, a part-time job, there was just a lot of things that happened in life. Went through a divorce. I had two very young children at the time. I was now financially responsible, right, for me and two kids, as the sole provider. And while I was working part-time, trying to get hired on full-time, it's like this scarcity mindset of like, what else can I do? Right? I'm not contributing enough. I'm not making enough. There's not enough coming in. Notice my word, enough
Mhm.
is just the thoughts that kept going through my head. And so I became really resourceful in ways to make more money. And it just led to at times, and this is not an exaggeration, working 2 or 3 part-time jobs and also having multiple different streams of like 1099 income at a time. And it completely burned me out, and it was causing major issues in my marriage as well. Even though I was making more money and making good money, it was actually causing a lot of issues in my marriage and the relationship with my kids. I wasn't really around them. So started out in the MLM space, and it just kind of built everything from, I'm still a lover of baking my own bread and selling it. I make sourdough out of our fifth wheel and sell it like crazy. And I worked for kids consignment shops. I work with a health and wellness company, right? It's you need help cleaning your garage. I was there, right? Like, and it just sparks this idea of, hey, I can do this for a living. I can create a business out of this. That's where my mind went every time. And I wouldn't say that it was healthy at that period of time in my life, but I did become very resourceful, which is a skill that a lot of us, I think, especially in today's economic uh,
Situation.
situation, that being resourceful in how we bring money into our home is beneficial.
Yeah, it is. I kind of liken it to the situation of our great grandparents, depending on where we are, that grew up during, that fun time. I believe it's called the Great Depression. I heard it was a great time. It was great. They had great in it, so it must have been a great time. But yeah, I liken what we're going through is something similar to that. We have to go back to that kind of not basic way of living, but the understanding that there's alternate ways of not only making money, but you know, if you can't afford to go buy bread, make sourdough or make simple bread at home, which will end up saving you money. Like, and as a money coach, that will help you. You can put that towards your bills, and it's just a simpler. I think we're trying to get back to a simpler way of living because we're so inundated. Um, which brings me to my question: when did you decide to start being a money coach? When did you start going, hey, I may actually have a problem with money that I need to solve? And then that led to you helping others solve that issue.
Mm-hmm. So let me give you a little bit of a backstory with this and how it really came to be. So when my current husband, so I was married and divorced before, had 2 children, and then my current husband, we've been together now 20 years, which is amazing that thank you, that we've lasted, because there were a couple of times that we were literally on the, sign on the dotted line, we're ending this kind of situation. But from 2006 to 2010, we followed kind of like one of the big money plans out there. I'm not going to mention it, but it was all about, these steps to follow and really getting out of debt. And we paid off about $60,000 worth of debt in those 4 years. And I will tell you that during those years, we did not make more than $60,000 in a year. So it was very much based in this restriction, not doing anything fun, literally every penny we had going towards paying off debt. During that time, a lot of shame and a lot of guilt was built up as well, right? And that plan was really great about helping us get out of debt. But what it didn't teach us is how to stay out of debt and how to communicate better. And I will tell you, in 2010, life really hit us. We were debt-free for only 4 months. And during that time, being so excited, being debt-free that first time, my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So the medical expenses hit, and there's no option with that. We need medication to keep him alive. We sold a house and bought another one where our mortgage tripled. Now, we knew the mortgage was going to triple, but what we did not anticipate, call us naive, but we didn't anticipate the inflated expenses of owning a much larger home. I had a couple of surgeries in there that were unplanned. My dad was killed in a motorcycle accident. He did not have life insurance or a will. And my car literally decided to quit working. And so we needed another vehicle. And so all of this happened. And it really felt, talk about the shame and the guilt. It just piled on because I thought we worked so hard to be debt free. So fast forward. So the middle of 2011, I said, okay, we need to do this again, but I need to do it a little bit differently. So from 2011 to 2018, we accrued and then paid off an additional $54,000 worth of debt. So we're at $114,000 worth of debt that we had accrued and paid off. A lot, right? I mean, it's awful. It's awful, and it's not, because it happens to many.
It happens to so many, but the fact that you had it kind of like not only back to back, like having it back to back was pretty bad. Like, it's like, oh, this is now going from a 5 to a 7. But the reasons behind it going from a 5 to a 7, your son being diagnosed, your father passing away, and all that fun stuff that comes with a parent passing away, not just, financial, but emotional aspects as well. Plus the oh, we're debt free, let's go to a bigger house, that mind trapping of becoming in debt, all that negativity. And then you're like, oh, and then we had to do it. Not only after we took nearly 10 years to pay off the debt, we're doing it again. When you're shortening the span of time getting it there, because obviously, the tropes were to miss, but you're on top of dealing with all the emotional stuff. That is insane. Like that. If that doesn't prove that you know what you're doing, I seriously don't think anything else can. That's a testament to who you are and what you do.
Well, and that's exactly why I wanted to become a money coach, because I think there's some gaps out there when we really look at, how do we get out of debt, but then also how do we stay out of debt, and how do we really build our wealth, and how do we do it without this shame and this guilt that we carry with us, and how do we do it without restriction? Gosh darn it, we work so hard. We should enjoy our money, and we should be enjoying this day-to-day living. And so if you want to go, and I do make coffee at home just because I prefer mine over going out and getting it someplace, but we shouldn't be made to feel shameful because we want to spend money in those areas, right? And so that is my journey. Is exactly the reason why I became a money coach. And then we had a lot of people asking us, they're like, you guys are like, you seem to have a pretty good relationship. A lot of younger folks, and I call them younger, the younger generation were like, how do you guys do it? Like, relationship goals, like you guys seem to be getting along pretty well. You are debt free. You get to do these fun things now. And we just had this peace about us, that it wasn't, money wasn't so stressful. And I thought, I can really help people in this area, because I believe that we can do better as a society in how we talk about money, and we can do better with not putting shame and guilt and restriction on people. Like, we feel that enough ourselves. We don't need it coming from an outside source. So how do we be not terrible with money and do it in a way that actually builds our confidence, that creates this clarity for us, that we know what to do? It really gives us the ability to act no matter what situation comes our way. Because listen, Murphy's going to show up at your door at the most inopportune time. So how do we plan for that and then be able to move on?
I love it. It's great. And the fact that you didn't, like, you're doing it from a place of love, I can feel, with helping people, because you understand what it's like. You understand what it is to get debt free and then fall into the same trapping, quote unquote, fall into the same trappings. You didn't fall into obviously the same trappings, but have the same trap open up and swallow you, because you're like, oh, I don't have to worry about it. But now you're being conscious because the other shoe, Murphy, loves to be behind that corner down the road. It doesn't matter where he is, wherever that corner is, he can be behind it. And he is a very nice person sometimes.
Right.
I'm interested. You have the money thing. You're doing great, right? Or in my view, you have success. You have your freedom to, not only freedom to do what you want when you want to. You have the freedom to go where you want when you want with being in the RV. You're not locked to a location. You're more of this nomadic lifestyle, which I find very appealing. Because you have that ability to say, hey, I can make communities all across the world instead of just in one place. Like you said, I don't have a community, but you do. You have a community wherever you go. You build those communities, and that's leaving a legacy, because those people who come together, who are like meeting you, they're going to stay together and be able to grow and take your lessons further. I'm wondering, if we snap our fingers, we go 10 years down the road, what are you doing, Sarah? And how do you see your growth as the money coach and everything that you're doing right now?
I think that's kind of a hard question for me to answer, because we do have multiple businesses. We've got big plans, right? And I am the dreamer. My husband is like the take action, the doer, the one that gets his hands in, and I'm the dreamer. I'm the one that like can see 10 years down the road and see what I want. And what I really see, Phil, is I see this place where I love working one-on-one with clients. I think it allows us to really dig deep, right, and get into each individual situation. But what I really envision is I want to be able on our travels to go into businesses and help employees, to help business owners, right? Do like lunch and learn type, events, to really be able to reach more people at one time. Because time is limited, right? And I only have so much time to meet one-on-one. My vision is just to keep traveling and build it. We now have a semi that pulls our fifth wheel, and we've got, our little car that fits on the back, and the motorcycle. And I see it as being this way to reach more people as we travel. And it really, and just as a side note, traveling has allowed me to even feel more compassion towards people that I didn't have before. I would say I lived kind of a sheltered life. And there was a period of time, a period of my life where I was very judgmental. That's gone now because of traveling, and I see how people really live, and it just makes me want to be able to reach more and more people. And then, with our other business, We do printing on metal. So we have metal prints, metal business cards that we make. We literally do it in-house in our fifth wheel as we travel. And so I want to do like all the motorcycle rallies and the big festivals and just go and hang out with people. And it really is, you said, about living this simpler life. And for me, it's this, and I think for a lot of people, it truly is this freedom of choice that so many people don't feel like they have. And for us now, and I also want to say traveling is not as glamorous, right? It is super challenging. There's a lot of things that happen, but ultimately I just want to be able to reach more people as we travel and let people know that every single person out there has the ability to change their financial situation and get to a spot that they feel that brings more freedom and brings more peace to them. And it is not too late, regardless of what situation you're in. It's not too late.
I love that. I love you reiterating over and over again that it's not too late. Because look, I know people who restart their life at 70 and have an incredible remaining 20, 30 years of their life because they finally took control of not just their finances, but their life. They grabbed those reins and were like, or grabbed that wheel of their fifth wheel, if you will, got behind it and they started driving. I want to talk to those people who are looking to finally grab life by the horns, or get behind their fifth wheel and start down their path of self-discovery, or their journey in this world of entrepreneurship. But it always comes down to where we are with our money mindset, how we can be better with money so that we can start living that life. And I was wondering if you could possibly provide us with maybe one or two practical things that us, maybe not money coaches, but money wannabe coaches, money fixers, if you will, or people behind the eight ball when it comes to understanding money and finances. What are maybe one or two practical tips that you can share with us so that we can start down that road and get our fifth wheel ready to drive?
Yeah. So one thing that I want to say is that if you feel that money in your personal finances is in disarray, just because you start a business doesn't mean that you automatically become an expert at money.
It doesn't.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to break everyone's heart with that. And this becomes important because the number one reason why businesses fail is because of cash flow. We are not taught when we start a business, when we become entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, solopreneurs, whatever, we are not taught money. We're not taught business money. And so if your personal life, if you are feeling stressed out, if you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're going to have those same feelings only multiplied in your business. And so it becomes, I think, critical that if you want to keep your business going, and I don't know anybody that starts a business that says, hey, I'm going to shut it down in 6 months because I don't have cash flow. Like, nobody says that, right? So reach out to somebody and actually build your financial literacy. It's okay to ask questions. Please don't wait until you start, quote unquote, making more money in your business to do this, because it becomes, money is an amplifier. And so the more you make, the more issues you're going to have, unless if you've got them now. If you feel at peace and feel confident with your money, then great. You make more peace and more confidence is going to come. So if you feel like you don't have the financial literacy, or not really sure how to, get your business finances, set and processes in place, please reach out to somebody and ask the questions. It does not matter if you're making a penny off of your business yet. The sooner you start, the better. And that leads into kind of the second piece is, for new people wanting to start out in their, business ownership, put your processes in place from the very beginning. As Rob Deerdeck, who is, if I've mispronounced his name, I'm so sorry, but he is the host of Ridiculousness on MTV. Side note, I couldn't stand the guy for a lot of years, but I heard a podcast with him a couple years ago, changed my view, and I really value everything that he shares. He says, if you do not build harmony into your life and your business from the beginning, you will not have harmony in your life and your business as you become more successful. So you have to build this in from the beginning, right? And so knowing what your calendar looks like, making sure that your business fits into your life does not become your business. That's important, right? You get to live every day, but when your business overtakes your life, which I see so much of the time because people are on this quest for more money, more money, more money, they forget to live. And then there builds a lot of resentment with business. So building your life so that your business fits into it is also really critical. Same goes with the processes that you do with your money. Getting those in place from the beginning, creating those habits. So when you start making more, the habit's already built and you can move your attention towards the places that require it more. Phil, I don't know how many people come to me and they're like, Sarah, I'm making, $50,000 a month, but I literally cannot pay my bills. And it's because there's number one, there's no process. They might be using a bookkeeper or QuickBooks or something like that. But let me tell you, folks, those are supporting partners and those are tools. Those are not systems in your business. They are tools to use. There is a difference, right? And so that goes back to then the financial literacy.
You dropped more bombs in that short segment than I was ready for. But I have to say, the procedures and processes and systems being put in place is so important, not just in your business, because that's what runs the business, but also in your personal life. And I love that you touched on that, because having systems in place and procedures, like, okay, the first of the month this gets paid, then Mondays I do this, Tuesdays I do this. Okay, every Friday I check my balance sheet to make sure that, hey, the business is doing good, but also my personal balance sheet. So I know what went out, where I need to correct the following week, instead of being, surprised come rent and be like, oh, I don't have money to pay rent. Shoot. But having a fifth wheel, you don't really have to worry about rent. You have to worry about car payments. But still, is there something that is on your bucket list as an entrepreneur that you're looking to get completed, let's say in the next 5 years? We'll give you a nice little round, 5 years to complete something on your bucket list. What would be something you're looking to complete on that bucket list?
I want to be on a big stage. I want to be on a big stage and talking to the people that are just, starting their businesses, or have been in business for a little while, but still feeling like they are super overwhelmed with the money, because I think this is an area that we are not talking about. There's a lot of big stages out there that talk about gaining more clients and how to sell more and, making more money, but nobody is talking about what to do with that money and how to make sure that you're using it in a way that's actually of benefit. And so my bucket list would be to be on a big stage, which is going to overcome some huge fears of mine.
I can only imagine.
I do pretty good on camera now, and I can talk to a group on camera, but being in front of live people of a bigger group, it's going to be a huge, fear that I have to overcome. But I think that we need to be having these conversations, and they're not being had. People in the business world are talking about making more money and signing more clients and, growing your service base and, having employees, but nobody's talking about how to use those dollars. And if I had a bucket list item, that would be it, is to really educate people on a big stage, how to make sure that they are building a financially sustainable, financially healthy business.
I love it. I can see it already happening. You already have everything in place. You just need that connection to the stage, which I think is going to come with your community, traveling around. Curious, do you find that it's a little difficult being in a fifth wheel while running multiple businesses, or does that allow you an advantage over, stationary business owners?
I think that it's all relative, truthfully. I think that, you know, when we did have our home and when we were stationary, I still met with clients the same, virtually over Zoom. I still did that. And I still worked with people all over the United States and Canada. So that part hasn't changed. I don't meet as many people in person now. So, it's probably more virtual. I think that with our travels, I think what it's done is it's allowed other people to start, and I hate to say this, living vicariously through us, but I think it really has opened up some people's eyes to, hey, if they can do it, then I can do that too. I am very open about our travels. I'm very open about our finances. I'm very open about how we do things and how we make this life work. And it surprises a lot of people. And with that surprise, then comes this belief that, you know what, maybe I can get there too. Maybe I can do, kind of what Sarah and James are doing. James is my husband, and I think that it's just allowed me to connect with people in a very different way because they see us kind of going against the grain. Now, over the last 4 years, people are traveling, more than they have in the past. It's not as uncommon, but people still they really want to do it, right? They really want to at least go for a couple of months at a time, maybe not full time like we are, but have the ability. And so I think it just allows me to connect with people on a different level than I was in what we call a sticks and bricks in a home.
I like that, sticks and bricks. I'm wondering, in your journey so far in helping people become financially free, make those conscious decisions to become a better version of themselves and invest in themselves, which is a huge important part of not just my life, but the reason why this podcast came to being. Do you have a story or multiple little tidbits you can share with the audience, showcasing how you help someone, or a realization that one of the people that you help had that brought them over that line, that like they were facing that boundary of self-doubt or was limiting belief?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, so many, right? I mean, I could probably talk for hours on this, but there's a couple of things that happen within the first couple of months of working together that my clients share. And that is they feel this sense of reduced stress. It's not gone altogether, but a sense of reduced stress because they can see how their money flows through their life. And before it felt very chaotic. Many of my clients come to me and they don't communicate very effectively with their partners. And so after a couple of months, they see that they are communicating so much more effectively and they feel like they're on the same page with their partners now, where they didn't feel that way beforehand. Most of my clients on average we're kind of quote unquote finding in between about $500 and $1,000 a month of money that they didn't realize they had. And on average, my clients are paying off in between about $5,000 to $10,000 worth of debt in about 6 months. That's huge, especially for the people that I work with, because they feel like they've been on this hamster wheel of unmet financial goals, right? Like trying to get debt paid off, but life happens and it uses that money instead. And so their debt kind of keeps growing because of interest. Their savings account is always being drained because, again, Murphy shows up. And so these are the types of things that my clients really are paying their debt off faster, growing their savings quicker than they ever have before. And part of that is due because we really dig into putting processes in place that fit their life. I talk a lot about spending more money in the areas that bring value to your life, and then eliminating the things or redirecting the things that you're currently doing. So much of the time we're spending money in areas that make us feel good for the next 5 minutes, but we're not thinking about what's going to bring value to our life within the next 5 years, right? And so really transitioning, that mindset and that thinking with our money, that we can live a really great life today and still have a really great life tomorrow. It doesn't have to be this either or scenario that I think is put out there so much.
I love that. That's great. Oh yes, sorry. I was just blanking because I had like 14 questions, and I'm like, okay, which one are we gonna pick? Which is always a problem when you do interviews. We're gonna jump to, I don't know what you do to invest in yourself. Like I know, like you mentioned, you listen to podcasts. Obviously, I'm guessing you do some reading. Being able to relax in a fifth wheeler. Oh look, I'm just gonna sit by this river and just put my feet in and read. I hope, or at least audiobooks. Um, what is it that you do on a constant basis that you have seen pay more dividends when you're investing in yourself? Is there a certain routine, a certain specific thing that you found that has, been the dividend giver through your journey so far?
Mm-hmm. So in addition to those couple things that you mentioned, definitely reading. I think that that's important because we need to be growing our mind all the time. Physical health, hugely important. And I've taken a more active approach to this even over the past 8 weeks. So really focusing on my physical health has allowed me to have more brain clarity. I have a little bit more energy, boosts your confidence a little bit, which then, right, you start to make maybe different types of decisions with your money. And there's so much psychology that goes into this that I'm not going to dig into, but it's actually been a proven fact. And actually, I've got a community, my financial frontrunners community, that this month has been all about the connection between physical, mental, and financial health and how they're all so connected. And so reading is boosting some of that mental health, right? Journaling, mental health, the physical health of, really watching nutrition and getting some regular intentional exercise in. A third one is surrounding myself with people that are doing things that I aspire to do, getting into different groups and different rooms where I'm not the one being the inspirer, but really getting at the same table in the same room with other people that are doing really, truly magnificent things in this life. And I think that that's super, super important in investing in yourself, is surrounding yourself with people that are going to encourage you, that are going to show you the ropes, that are going to help keep you accountable, that are not complaining of all the things that they don't have, but they're talking about all the things that they're doing to change their tomorrow. And for me, that's really big. I grew up with kind of this negative Nelly mindset. I was the pessimist, right? I was referred to as Eeyore a lot. And so I recognize that to change that mentality, I have to get myself into rooms where people are making moves and they're not just talking about doing something different. They are actually taking action to do something different.
I love that. And those are really great practical pieces of advice just by you sharing what you're doing. Getting into those rooms where you are the one being inspired and not inspiring others is super important. Goes with the saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the dumbest room possible. I have one final question before we wrap this whole shindig up. And it's very important because, as some of my audience knows, I have a nephew. I love him dearly, and this question is really for him more than anything. But when he turns 10, I'm going to give him a book full of advice from amazing entrepreneurs like yourself, Sarah. And this is specifically for him, talking to him. I have your 10-year-old version right beside me of you. Perfect, amazing, fun person. Very funny, must say. A joy to talk to. But I want to know, what's one piece of advice you would love to be able to hand back to your 10-year-old self?
Oh, that I remember being 10 so clearly because for a multitude of reasons, but one, and I don't even want to get emotional because this is really hard. It really is that you're enough and that the responsibility to make everybody else happy does not fall on your shoulders. The responsibility to take care of everybody else is not yours to be had. I carried a lot of weight for other people in my family that I didn't need to carry. And in fact, I have the tattoo now that actually says I am enough, because I needed to hear that when I was 10 years old. I needed to hear that it's okay to be a kid, that you don't need to grow up so fast right now. Be yourself, be different, continue to be different. You don't have to be like everybody else. So many things I would say to my 10-year-old self, but those are the two big ones. Continue to be different, and taking care of everybody else doesn't need to sit on your shoulders.
And I think those are some great advice, even to people living today. They should start being themselves. Sarah, I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to let my audience know where they can find you, where they can connect with you, where if they're having money issues or they're looking for someone to inspire them in their money journey, how they can get in touch with you, or if they need a metal business card, which sounds friggin' amazing. If anybody is looking for that. So the floor is yours.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Phil. And to all of you out there, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I am there. You can also go to my website. Website is keepingupwiththejonesesfc.com. So FC stands for financial coaching. You can pretty much look me up under the same name on Facebook and Instagram as well. We do have these fun business cards, metal business cards right here, two-sided. We print those in-house. But yes, I'd love to have just a conversation. This isn't about selling you on a service. This is really about helping you feel more confident in your money. And I love talking about money now, and helping you feel more confident. So look me up in all of those places. Keeping Up with the Joneses FC.
I love it. Sarah, I have to thank you so much for being here, sharing your journey, sharing your advice and your knowledge. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Phil. It's great being here with you today.
Excellent. To my audience, of course, I thank you so much for listening. If you're interested in connecting with Sarah, of course, you check out the show notes down below. There are all the links to everything to connect with her. You can find there, especially with Keeping Up with the Joneses FC will be there to help those who are like, how do we spell that? Show notes will have you taken care of. I want to thank Sarah again for being here. She was an amazing guest. For you listening, and as always, remember to invest in yourself.